Hype Network presents.
On this episode of Season 4, Let's Talk.
You know what? Canada is very welcoming country. It welcomes. It's very diverse. It If you're from the Philippines, they have a little area for you. If you're from Korea, they have a little area for you. If you're Indian, they have a little area for you. Like your culture here is very much appreciated.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Rajiv Show, and I'm your host Rajiv Doreswamy. And this show aims to help reach out to those who are currently struggling in life and to remind you that life is indeed beautiful when you're inspired to make it your own. Before we get into this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to whichever platform you are using. And if you want to connect with me, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok at The Rajiv Show. Hey folks, welcome back to The Rajiv Show. And this time, my guest is a Filipino who is abroad all the way into Toronto. And I know, folks, some of you guys who are listening, we got international guests. But technically, this is a non-international international guest for the first time. And she's also a member of the PPD and also a podcaster. Let me introduce my guest, Stephanie Madarang. How are you, girl?
Girl, it's nighttime here, girl, and it's good. Sleeping time is almost near.
Yeah,
But I have
I
to make
know.
time for you because you're special.
Aw.
Char.
uh, how are things over there?
You know, it's crazy, 1,800 cases a day.
Hmm,
So, we really have to be very careful or else machuchugi ang, you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
scary, but life goes on. Life goes on.
Before we get, of course, into the conversation, could you give a little bit of background aside from the ones that I mentioned in our conversation?
I'm from Toronto. Toronto na naman. Oh yeah, guys, it's not Toronto. Toronto, it's Toronto. Char, my goodness. Yeah, so I've been here since 2016, and I believe, and I'm so lucky to have achieved a lot of things already from a simple girl dreaming about having a business and all those kinds of things, and then now I finally achieved it. And one thing na I learned during that is that it's possible. If you keep saying it's impossible, then definitely it will be impossible. So yeah, and life is short, so just do it. Sa Nike ba yun or Adidas? I think that's it. That's all they got.
This is not a sponsored ad.
Not definite. I hope so. Nike, please sponsor me.
So yeah, the first, of course, if those who don't know, of course, the first question that I ask my guest here in the Rajiv Show is, if my guest and I were high school classmates, who were you in high school classmates? Were you the introverted, the extroverted? Were you behind the class? Were you the um, more competitive
Type of
valedictorian or sports?
um I'm gonna be your nastiest classmate, and I'm gonna be also I'm gonna be the most see very double superlative most noisiest classmate. What else? Yeah, probably I'm always either your president or vice president.
Oh wow. Wow,
Yeah.
really are competitive in that field, in that regard, I gotta ask.
No, I no. I'm not competitive, but I want to always prove myself, but not in a competitive way.
Yeah.
Kasi ano ako eh, I'm not academically smart, but I'm good at some stuff. Know what I mean?
Oh,
So
so it's
even
like
though
a compensation.
academics,
Ah, compensation
not
plan.
really. Like I have na grabe naman yung compensation. Hindi naman like it's
Yeah.
grabe yung hindi naman like it's not I'm just not book smart. Book
Ah,
smart, sorry. Book smart. I'm more of a skillful worker, ganon. That's
mm,
why I'm always on the go. Like just go lang ng go, ng go, ng go.
interesting, interesting.
And that's why I said nastiest, because I can be very blunt about
Uh,
everything we're gonna talk about. Like I don't know what you want to talk about, but yeah, I can get nasty.
yeah.
That's why it's weird. I'm weird. Yeah, people say that
Well,
all the time. I'm weird.
well, the weirdest are those who are creative and those who make the best out of life, rather than those who are simple and
Yeah.
boring. And then the next stuff that I wanted to ask is paano ka napadpad dyan, or in English is how did you end up? What's the story? I'm sure there's a story behind how you went to Toronto.
Toronto. Um, actually, it was my mom.
Hmm.
Right. So a full story. Do you want the full story or
Sure, sure.
the short story?
Full story. I
Okay.
want to
A
I
full
want to paint a
story. Yeah.
picture. Yeah.
So my dad went home from Korea from working.
Hmm.
So I'm a made in Korea baby,
Hmm.
right? I'm a made in Korea baby.
Hmm.
So it means that my parents met there, but there's no future in Korea. My mom got like umuwi sa Pilipinas.
Hmm.
And then after 7 years, my dad went home. And then of course, money was, scarcity ng pangkabuhayan package.
Hmm.
So he decided to, travel, go to abroad again, maybe Australia or New Zealand, but didn't work.
Hmm.
Until my parents decided, you know what? I think, like my mom said, maybe I'm the one who should go. And I think my auntie here and my uncle, they're very fortunate to be here in Canada. So you know what? They decided that maybe they can take my mom.
Hmm.
And after maybe 6, 7 years of waiting, my mom was able to bring us here. And that was around 2016 of August. So
Hmm.
yeah, we were pretty lucky because some people here, they come either as students,
Hmm.
right? Or they come like alone, or minsan yung mga illegal pa na mga shady things.
Hmm.
I'm pretty much lucky to be na makuha ako by by proper way, the easiest way
The
actually, like
legal.
just immigrate.
Yeah.
Yeah, the legal way, and then yeah, and then get all the privileges people have here. Some people here working permit lang,
Yeah.
so they don't really have the luxury of like fooling around. But me,
Hmm.
I got everything on my plate ready, so
That's
not
cool.
really, not really. And yeah,
That's cool.
I just got lucky. We just got lucky. Yeah.
2016, so that means around 2015 you were still in the Philippines.
Oh yeah, I was
Ah,
still in school.
parang odd yung timing kasi a year after that, I came back around June, July. And then 2016 umalis ka.
See,
Ano kaya yun? Parang hindi meant to be joke.
di meant to be mag-meet. Well, ganun talaga.
Yeah.
20 I was still there. I just skipped school no
Ah,
2016 kasi it
yeah.
was August. So it means kaka-start pa lang ng school year.
Yeah, oh yeah, correct.
I just went to school for the sake, yeah, I just went to school for the sake of going to school.
Hmm.
And then that's it. Nothing much.
Hmm.
Kasi kailangan you have a school background, or else the immigration would see that you're not really doing anything.
Yeah.
So I had to go to school.
And then how does the transition feel like? For me, one thing I relate to that story when you meant school, my experience post my season 2, before
Mm-hmm.
2005, I was in the 5th grade, and from
Mm-hmm.
the 5th grade, I had to repeat my 5th grade when I went to India. The same, I think, 2004. I think 5th grade, and then I went to India
Mm-hmm.
around 2005. So it was more
Mm-hmm.
like I had to repeat the same grade or the same standard, and that was a thing. And for me, I had a lot of problems because of my name. I'm sure a lot of people know that my name is very Indianish. So when I went to India, they assumed that I was
Mm-hmm.
Indian, but they did not know that I was foreigner because my name itself, Rajiv and Doreswamy, is so Indian. It sounds like a common name.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So
So
it's
they had
like
to
you're
verify.
with them, but you're not actually with them. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the one funny thing about that experience. But for you, I gotta ask, when you said you were you had to study in Philippines in order to sing, was it the same, like same thing as my story, like you had to repeat this particular high school era, or you had to move on from
Oh,
whatever grade you were from?
um, actually, I was second year high school, I guess. Not high, sorry, college. So my mom already planned
Hmm.
what I'm gonna do here. Because usually, what happens is that when you come here, even if you're in college, you still have to go back to high school.
Oh.
So instead of yeah, you should still go back to high school. But what she did is that she put me in an adult school.
Hmm.
So instead of going back to high school, they credited my units as high school units, and I was able to do a course which is massage therapy. In here, it's a different way. I think in the Philippines, it's very like a test na looking like dito they take it as really a big career. Like it
Yeah.
even has its own laws and legislations.
Oh, wow.
So I was very fortunate to yeah, so I didn't retake high school.
Oh.
For instance, like my boyfriend, they really had to go back to high school. He was 18 but he's still in high school. So some of them you have to repeat.
Hmm.
Some of them you can just go to a college, do adult school, and then work immediately. That's what happened to me.
Hmm.
Or and then there was a point that I tried applying for university.
Hmm.
They just want me to repeat, I think, 2 3 units out of math,
Hmm.
pass it, and then credit my units back home, and then they can see. So it's pretty much open, right? But it's not for all the countries. It's just mostly for Philippines.
Hmm.
Philippines, some of the schools, especially UP, is very accredited. So
Oh.
unfortunately, I'm not from UP. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like if you're from UP, the courses are gonna be easier to credit. But unfortunately, I wasn't from there. So, but then I didn't really need it because I was able to go to school 3 days after I got here. So, no, yeah, I told you, I'm just lucky. I just got lucky here.
Since we are in the topic of education, I gotta ask this
Mm-hmm.
interesting question that I have in my head that popped out, is that I'm a movie guy and I always watch the movies, and I always watch movies, and I've seen those, college classrooms where students can walk off anytime they want and sing. Is that the same culture there in Canada, or it's just different? You have, if you're sitting through the class, in Philippine setting, because this is my experience. When you have a class and you're in college, you have no right to leave the
Mm-hmm.
classroom until the teacher leaves the classroom. And I think that's the kind of the custom. Do they have that
Yeah,
system the opposite way? It's like when you're bored, you can leave
it
the
really
class.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it really depends on the school, right? Kasi I'm in a private college, so it means my program is very condensed. Instead of taking it for 2 to 3 years, it took it for 50 weeks, so not even a year.
Hmm.
So if you don't wanna go to school, then you have to tell them why you don't wanna go to school, and probably give a medical note.
Hmm.
From university standpoint, because I've never been in like I've never been into one, but based on my some of my patients who are actually there, yeah, if you're bored you can just leave, but some of them don't, some of them do, but it
Hmm.
really depends. Probably the movies are right.
Hmm.
They treat, if you're an adult here, they treat you an adult,
Hmm.
right? So it means if you're 18 above and you need to leave, you gotta go, you can go.
Hmm.
But if you're like under 18 and you need supervision, they will really call the parents like, "Hey, your kiddo's out. Did you consent to this?" So,
Ah,
yeah, it's like that.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like I'm already in Canada because of the visuals. It's really interesting, your story, your life story, because the experiences is somewhat fascinating in one end, and some of it is somewhat relevant to sing. And
Right?
yeah, it's very fascinating. I've always wanted to have a conversation with you. The last time we had conversation, I think it was like 5 months ago, prior to the madness and excitement. But yeah, this I really love your energy and stuff
Yeah,
like
I
that.
know.
Uh, Before we get into
Yeah,
the
and I was busy
next.
cleaning that time too.
Oh yeah, yes, I remember. You gave me a tour. You gave us a tour around your house, and yeah,
A room tour. Yeah, I know, right?
yeah. Before we get into the next topic, which is of course business, I want to know how life is in business. We're gonna have a short break first, folks. For those who are tuning in, we will be right back after these few short messages.
If you want to learn something new or useless about the world around you, why don't you try listening to the Banyu Podcast Reflushed on Spotify, Anchor, or any podcast app that you use?
Hey, folks, welcome back to the Rajiv Show. And my guest is an international Filipino guest, all the way from Toronto. And we were during the break we were talking about some interesting stuff, and I found out that my guest is really an amazing conversationalist, and I really love her energy. If you guys heard the first half of the conversation, well, it was phenomenal. Before we actually get into the business portion, I actually wanted to talk about business because I'm always fascinated about entrepreneurship and business. The one thing that I forgot to
Mm-hmm.
ask in the first half is, of course, culture. Culture is culture shock, basically, because I went through that system,
Yeah.
listening to cows moo
Na-
in the afternoon. It was kind of weird. That was I think I'm sure that was I'm sure you heard that episode where there was a cow in the beginning of that episode.
yeah. What
But
can we do?
yeah, that was my first experience in a different country, and the expectation really was much different. It was very saying my experience in India, and my first few months, it was really different because one is the language. There's a little bit of language barrier, especially when your English
Barrier,
is
yes.
US. Because here in the Philippines, the English that we are taught
We're
to speak
US and
in,
then
yeah.
yeah.
And when you go to
And
India,
then India is British.
British English, but some of the words that you say, you enunciate or pronounce are challenging,
Different.
and
Yeah.
some of them have certain accents. So it's very fascinating. It's very, very, very fascinating. I gotta ask though, what is your experience in the culture when you went? You mentioned 2016. You went straight into Canada and with through the legal system. What was the first few months or few days? What was the thing that shocked you the most? That was saying,
The food.
huh,
Period. It was the food. Like, you know what? Canada is a very welcoming country.
mm,
It's very diverse.
mm,
If you're from the Philippines, they have a little area for you. If you're
mm,
from Korea, they have a little area for you. If you're
mm,
Indian, they have a little area for you. Like, your culture here
mm.
is very much appreciated. Like I did a fashion show in downtown Toronto, and I
Wow.
was shocked. It was downtown Toronto where the city hall is there, and
Mm,
like Mayor Tory was there. I mean, the Mayor Tory is the Toronto's mayor.
mm,
They're very welcoming. Another example is our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Every
mm.
Filipino, there's a Filipino event here around August, summertime. It's called Taste of Manila. They come in here, Justin Trudeau, and celebrate. They celebrate with you. So
Oh, wow, that's cool.
actually, I'm not that. Yeah, I'm not that shocked in terms of people because the place where we lived before is an area of Filipinos.
Mm,
So when you get on the bus, it still feels like the Philippines. You know what I
mm,
mean? But yeah, it's the food. It's the food. Let's say punta tayo ng karinderya, we go to the karinderya, we get, probably menudo.
mm,
When you taste it, it's like, oh, this is menudo. When
mm,
you come here, go to, a fast food chain, a Filipino fast food chain,
mm.
it's different. The hot dog used is different. They don't even have chicken isaw here anymore. They sell the, I think, the pork or beef.
Mm.
It's just weird.
Wow. Sounds
Like
all
the taste is
delicious.
different.
Biglang
It is
nagmouth water.
delicious, but it's really, but it's very different.
Ah, it's really wow. It's
It's very,
fascinating.
it's very different. It's very different. Like it's the same food. It's the
Huh.
same food, but different taste. And let's say I wanna cook dinner. Let's
Mm.
say I want sinigang or something.
Mm.
It's not the same sa Philippines because technically it's not the same sa Philippines because you're technically, let's say gusto mo ng pampaasim, you just go to the kapitbahay. Hey, kapitbahay, can I have kamyas? Like, those kamyas. I don't know. Is it kamyas?
Mm.
I'm like, those green little things that you put in sinigang or paksiw.
Mm.
In here, you can't find it here. So it's really rare that you find something like that. I'm gonna give you lanzones in the Philippines. We have it,
Mm.
correct?
Mm.
You would be very happy if you've seen one here.
Mm.
Oh my God, lanzones! Or sometimes, rambutans.
Yeah.
Normally, you would see your neighbors having it, or sometimes in the flea markets, palenques. In
Mm.
here, you would be very happy if you see one, like one, probably one Chinese or Asian supermarket. You find one of those, you're gonna be happy. And it's not the taste is different as well. In the Philippines, it's all fresh. In here, it's the worst kind of rambutan that you're gonna get.
Oh.
So that's where I'm very shocked. It's the food. I'm like, oh my God, I can't. It's just weird. Food, yeah, that's the number one that I had problems with. Next is the people, but mostly the food.
S- wow. That's really interesting. Food. Huh?
And of course, it's
Mm.
yeah, and imagine the food that we eat back
Mm.
home would really, you know what, like in a very exhausting day,
Mm.
you're tired, you're gonna go sa bahay mo,
Yeah.
and then you're just gonna eat and you feel happy, you feel full.
Yeah.
So it means like food is really important to me because I was homesick too, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not the same polluted air that I breathe. Char.
Yeah.
Like
Knocks.
it's not the same environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joke. Sama ko naman sa Pilipinas. No, but hindi na siya yung the same kind of noise.
Yeah.
Hindi ka na makakarinig ng tricycle, right? Like
Ah.
it's very different, and then you're just looking forward to have that Filipino food that you want, but because the ingredients are rare or it's different taste, even tender juicy hot dog here is to find. Can you believe it? So it's really sad. So that made me feel more homesick than ever. The food. That's why I'm like, food is everything. But because food here is different from the food compared to the food in the Philippines, it's really hard. It was really hard to adjust.
Wow. It's fascinating. So many. I could relate to you in so many ways. Probably if I were to tell you my experiences, those things that I missed out in my season two, probably would have an entire season of just talking about the things that we've missed.
Right? You should invite me again. We should do
Yes,
that.
yes, yes. That is actually one of the plans. That is one of the plans for the upcoming seasons. So now let's talk business. Let's talk because you mentioned this in the beginning, and I want to unbox this.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel to have because from a standpoint of a fresh graduate, um, I find it fascinating to get into business, but then I guess social media and TV movies they portray it in such a way that it's so fantasized. I want to
Yeah.
know what was the feeling when you said, uh, uh, basically this is connected to motivation. Is that what was the feeling when
Mm-hmm.
you decided, hey, I don't want to go through the system anymore. I want to do something for myself, for my family, and saying, what was the thing going through your mind when you decided, okay, I want to do business, and then boom, there was a click, and there's a different Steph overall doing the business and all that stuff. When was that pivotal moment?
Yeah. I think in my very first episode of Chikahan Corner, I mentioned about passion and dream. So this was definitely like my career now is definitely not my passion. Like I can assure that. Like I never imagined myself doing massage, right? But like I'm gonna use your hashtag vocabularies. I'm
Mm,
very fascinated about the fact that the standard of what they do here, like the massage and everything, is different. It's more medical, and they really put effort to
mm,
make it a very therapeutic, like it's a healing way. So
mm,
of course that's why I ended up loving my career now.
mm,
But one thing that they didn't tell me is that you can easily burn out, like not just physically, but mentally, emotionally burn out. Like I would work 7 days a week before,
mm,
from um, 10, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
mm,
And then I just massage, and then you're gonna get these employers that either cares about you or they actually don't care about you. Sometimes it's a fake care.
mm,
It's like they don't really care about you. Like they just show that they care, but actually they don't.
mm,
Until one day I decided that, you know what? I'm so fed up with these employers giving, giving a hard time to these employees working for them, giving them more things to do even
mm,
if they don't really need to.
mm,
So I decided, you know what? Why don't I build a business where everything can be equal? People said, "Oh, it's gonna be difficult because there can never be a business that's equal." I'm like,
mm,
it's not about being equal. Being someone that can grow into a very mature person na can see things in a balanced level. Like naging employee din ako, so I know what it feels. So now that
mm,
I have the business, what should I do next? So
mm,
a turning point of that is when I started. Yeah, the business was easy to start. You have to
mm,
find an investor, which is I went to my parents.
mm,
They let me borrow maybe $500 for my first and last rent of a little space I rented in a salon for my space.
mm,
But the real turning point was when you hire your employees,
mm,
right? And it really felt magical because you're gonna meet these people that na-experience nila yung mga na-experience mo na akala mo ikaw lang nakaramdam.
mm,
And it's good to hear good feedbacks na you were able to change their life.
mm.
Kasi you were able to look at them the way I want people to look at me.
Mm.
So I really do care about the people I work with. So that's the biggest turning point that I had in a business. And I think that's a good way to start the business. If you know how to care for people, then
Hmm.
yeah, definitely.
Interesting, interesting. Do you have some shout outs before we before we move on to the next thing? Because I have a feeling, I hope some of your employees are tuning into this podcast, and probably they've reached this thing.
Shout out. Okay, for the next year Christmas party of 2021, do not forget sa nakabunot sa akin for Secret Santa. Anything color pink, I would love it. Bro, you can recycle gifts. Christmas will end, like Christmas is every year. Okay, advance Merry Christmas.
So yeah, aside from, taking that leap, I think that is one of the most challenging experience. I could imagine how much the scrutiny you were gonna go through with mindset. It was more of the
Oh
mindset
yeah, of
first,
course.
because
Definitely, it should be the mindset first, yeah. Because if not, you're not gonna end up anywhere.
mm,
You're definitely not gonna end up anywhere. You're gonna probably just think about your business it's all about money, money, money. And at
mm,
the end of the day, if you're gonna die, you're not gonna bring your money to heaven or to hell, wherever you wanna go.
Mm.
I mean, wherever your destiny is, hopefully it's gonna go up.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's the respect. It's correct. You're correct. You're right. It should be the mindset first.
Because it's one thing is it's not just the fact that I'm sure the odds are stacked against you. Don't get me wrong, but this is how I perceive it, is that the odds are stacked against you to a certain degree, that
Mm-hmm.
that the fact that you're you are a Filipino. Don't get me wrong here, but you are a Filipino and you're trying something that it mostly successful is more successful in another world, like let's say um how about, we're looking at Americans who made it, Americans who made it in their own country, and somewhat those are the things, those elements, they had money, they had this, and I'm
Yeah.
sure you've heard that a lot. By now you'll probably be a millionaire
Oh,
by how
that
many
yeah.
times they've said that to you. But yeah, it's really fascinating how you manage to get your psychology and everything together, and you got yourself together, and then fought the good fight, and then here you are, a legend in your own field, which is really fascinating.
Yeah.
I want to get a little bit
Hopefully.
philosophical here, philosophical, motivational inspiration. You can take it however you want. Is this, I gotta ask,
Mm-hmm.
is there a Steph Madarang quotation that you know you live by, and when you wake up and then you get to business, before you get to business, before you brush your teeth and all that stuff, you have this quote that you have, that's in your mind, that
Mm-hmm.
reminds you, hey, I am Steph and I got a business to run, and saying this quote is gonna help me push myself to that next level.
I always tell every staff that's gonna work for me, and even myself when I wake up. It's a very common phrase. I believe you heard it,
Hmm.
but it's don't do. What's that? Don't do unto others what they don't want to do unto you.
Hmm.
That's it. It's not really. It's very broad. It can be for business. It can be for yourself. But one struggle that I had here building my business is that people are gonna try to cheat on you. People are
Hmm.
gonna try to lie to you. People are gonna tell you to do shady stuff. People are gonna push you to do these negative things, right?
Hmm.
But that's why I always say don't do unto others what they don't want to do unto you. Because if you're gonna do some shady stuff, what if one day karma goes back at you and repeat what you did? Like, or simply as if you're gonna do something towards the other people that you meet every day,
Hmm.
are you gonna be able to sleep at night or no? If no, then you're doing something wrong. So karma is digital. If you can do it right, just do it right. For me, that's a very essential thing for building businesses. Even if it's a service business, a product service,
Hmm.
just make sure that you're very truthful to your clients, because your clients will know, your customers will know.
Hmm.
If you're genuine, if your feelings are genuine, right? Even if how much expensive your service is or your product is, if they see that you're very loyal, you're genuine, you're truthful,
Hmm.
they will pay triple, like triple times that they're paying to you, because they believe in you already. You got their trust. And I think that's the number one thing for business: trust. That's how you get regulars, if they trust you. I can guarantee that. It's the trust that they go for.
Wow, it's really more power. I mean, wow. we went from
Right?
we went from Korea to Philippines, back to Philippines, and to Toronto. And wow, this has been an experience. I mean, I felt like I traveled the world with your conversation, and I think I think I've experienced the Canadian Filipino experience, even though I'm not there. I really love it. Um,
Oh,
but
you're gonna have more. Invite me more.
I will,
I'm
I
joking.
will, I will, I will. I definitely. I always love to have you on a conversation. Of course, to wrap this conversation up, of course, our listeners, if our listeners want to find you in
Mhm.
social media and want to connect with you, perhaps collaborate with you, how do they find you in social media?
Oh yeah, so you can follow me at Instagram at you can search for Steph Madarang STEPH dot Madarang MADARANG, and you can follow my Facebook at www.facebook.com/ Chikahan Corner. They can find me there.
Awesome. Awesome. First of all, I want to thank my guest all the way from Canada. I know the time difference is huge.
Mm-hmm.
But then,
Yeah.
if there is a will, there's a way. And I want to thank you at least for accommodating me in in your busy schedule. And I want to thank you to be
Yeah.
being a
Of
part
course,
of the Rajiv
anytime.
show. Um, as you've mentioned a couple of times already, I hope you come back and hopefully let's have another conversation, another episode. I always love to have you. I love your energy, basically. I love your energy and I love how you sing. I wish it's so infectious that I get to have a little bit of that energy because I'm already starting to feel the burnout
Oh,
that you
you
mentioned.
can.
So yeah,
Right? And never,
yeah.
never, never wait for that day. And of course, maybe you can have a guest on my show too if I figure out the problem that I made. So
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to share some stories. There are a lot of stories that some few people. This funny thing is, with all the collaborations that I've had, there are a lot of people. For those who are tuning in or podcasters who are tuning in, uh, I gotta say that there are a lot of questions that you guys haven't answered much about me. So if you guys could figure out how to find out that, and you've reached this portion of that conversation, good luck. And I'm hoping to hear from you. And I also want to be a part of the Chikahan Corner. I actually want to be a part of every conversation as much as possible. I'd love to have a conversation.
oh, I will.
I'd love to.
I'm gonna put you in there. Maybe in
So
my season 2, you can be my first guest. Why not?
hopefully if we get there, because yeah. Anyway, I segued into a very very long thank you. I want to say again thank you to Steffi Madarang all the way from Toronto. Thank you so much for
Thank
being a part of
you.
the Rajiv show. And for those who are tuning in,
You're very welcome.
I hope you learned a thing or two, and of course, I hope you joined this journey with me and had that Philippine Canadian experience, folks. Cheers, and I will see you in the next episode.